So my last couple of movie reviews, linked up above, were movie versus movie, or two movies that had things in common, like should you see this or should you see this, or how does this sequel compare to this sequel. And this week in movie theatres I saw two documentaries, so welcome to another dual movie review video. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel at least twice a week, and then movie reviews just like this one here at the weekend. They are always spoiler free, and I will leave my movie reviews playlist linked up above in case you are looking for something to watch this week, whether it is on the big screen or on the small screen. I've reviewed both kinds. So yes, today I thought I would talk about the two documentaries that I saw in cinemas this week. So I went to see the Sparks Brothers, which is a documentary about the band Sparks, and I also went to see the Rita Moreno documentary, which is called something like The Girl Who's Something, but everybody knows it's the Rita Moreno documentary. So these films are both quite different, even though they are both documentaries about people in the public eye. The Sparks Brothers is 2 hours and 21 minutes long, and is the entirety of that 2 hours and 21 minutes because there are scenes throughout the credits. And the Rita Moreno documentary is like an hour and 30, and it is an hour and 30. So yes, Sparks Brothers. I didn't know an awful lot about Sparks as a band before watching the trailer for this movie. So there was a trailer for this movie and a little clip about this movie in the pre-show when I went to see In the Heights at the Alamo. In the Heights comparison video linked up above. So yeah, I saw a little teaser clip in the pre-show, and then I saw the trailer for this one in the trailer section before, and I was like, yes, I want to see this film. I have watched multiple documentaries about multiple bands. You know, I've seen like the Queen biopic and Elton John biopic, and so even if I'm not terribly sort of into a band, I am still happy to watch a movie about that band, whether it is a biopic or an actual documentary. And this one was so interesting. I had heard a couple of their songs, I had heard the name, but I wasn't necessarily like, oh, I could identify that as Sparks, or oh, I've listened to their album, or oh, I've seen them live. You know, this is how much of an outsider I was. But having watched this documentary about the fact that they've been working for basically their entire lives and have never stopped, and are still producing stuff now, and are still doing things now, including a movie that's coming up that seems to have Adam Driver attached to it as well. Make sure you subscribe, because you know I'll be reviewing that one when it comes out, Sparks and Adam Driver. Yeah, I just have so much respect for these people. Their lives are so interesting because they are brothers, and yet they seem to get along really well, and they seem to have, you know, managed to forge this career and work together really well. And so there's no like, oh well, I met him and we had this friendship and we fell out or anything like that. It's like, no, we were raised together, and this is how we were raised, and we had this like common interest, and then we pursued this interest, and they came up with this like big, you know, brand that they've been pursuing and working on and artistically contributing to since the late 60s, which is insane, and they are still going strong now. The documentary itself, you know, from me having reviewed documentaries before, I really like when it is a good mix of, you know, factual things happening, talking heads, and then clips of the actual things. So obviously this has that good balance, because we can have clips of the band performing on shows like Top of the Pops and Bandstand, but we can also have clips of them performing at actual gigs and their music videos themselves. The talking heads parts of it, some of the people involved, not necessarily people you would expect. So they're not all musicians, and they're not all kind of like friends of the band. We've got different kind of movie makers, people who were part of the backing band at one point, and again, because it's gone through such a long period of time, you have various different generations of backing bands. So we have a drummer that was with them in the early 2000s, and then we have the bassist that was with them in the 70s, and so you really do get a different perspective and a different sort of point of view from the different time periods and the different people who are involved with them. We've got people who are just fans. We've got people who have worked with them in musical collaborations. We've got people who have worked with them in kind of movie collaboration. And then their talking heads are always very interesting as well, because their sense of humor is, I said this is almost very British. Even though they are from California, they have been bigger in the UK than they were in the States. And so I feel like a lot of their influence and a lot of their sort of ways about themselves are very British. And so I found them really funny, and their talking heads in particular I really enjoyed, because sometimes it was just very like dry and almost very like tongue-in-cheek, the things that they were saying. And then yeah, the clips that we had, there was no clips that were kind of repeated again and again. We were very much chronological working through it. My only criticism of the film is that it's 2 hours 20 minutes. I feel like they could have got that down to 2 hours by taking the ending and making the ending more concise. You know, when you get to the part of a film, whether it's a movie with a storyline or a documentary like this one, and you can tell that you're wrapping things up, and really that part to me could have been 5 minutes and it was 25 minutes. And so that's my only criticism. It could have been a 2-hour documentary, and things would have been a little more comfortable in the cinema if you're only sitting there for 2 hours versus sitting there for 2 hours and 21 minutes. But yeah, that is basically my only criticism in terms of the structure and the way the documentary was handled. I did see this one with Ollie, but we were the only people in the movie theatre, and it was a really big movie theatre as well. It was one of the bigger screens, the ones that have the entrances up both sides rather than just up the one side. That's always my gauge of like, what's the size of the movie screen? There's 2 doors. And so it felt really special to be able to see this on the big screen and be the only people in the cinema. I was also the only person in the cinema when I went to see the Rita Moreno documentary, which was slightly less surprising because I saw it at 2:15 on a Monday. And I'm not sure there's that many people going to see documentaries at 2:15 on a Monday, but this Sparks Brothers was a Saturday afternoon, which is busy time for movie theatres, but I feel quite privileged that I got to see both of these documentaries as the only person in the cinema. So the Rita Moreno one, again, it has that good balance of talking heads, clips. So we have clips of her talking at award shows, we have clips of her kind of making films, and then we have the clips from the films themselves. I went into this one similarly to going into Sparks. I went into this one not knowing an awful lot about her. I had seen her in Singing in the Rain, and I had seen her in West Side Story, and then I had seen her presenting at the Oscars, and that was kind of it for me. But again, I saw clips of this one at the In the Heights pre-show at the Alamo, and then I'd seen the trailer when I was watching another film previously, and then the trailer came on with In the Heights. Obviously the trailer's going to be coming on with that one, and then also before this Sparks Brothers film I saw the trailer for the new West Side Story, which she is also in, very excitingly. But I love just how honest and raw the clips of her talking just directly to the camera are. She is so open and honest about her relationships, about her mental health, about the amount of therapy she's had, about her suicide attempt, about a failed abortion. Like, all of it is just so raw and open and honest. And because she is just sitting there, we sort of see the room set up, and she's basically just sitting there, her in a chair with the microphone talking to a camera. It's not someone that she's interviewing. She's not on a panel. She's not got people with her there. It's just her talking. And she talks about the fact that she kind of goes around the house talking to herself anyway, and sometimes she tells jokes to herself. I could very much relate to that. I think that comes out being an only child, I think, possibly. And so I think she's quite prepared to talk in that way and quite used to talking in that way. And so those moments for me were the most precious moments of the film, because they're just so open and honest, and nobody else could talk on those topics the way that she can, because they've happened to her. People will talk about, you know, the way she was received after winning her Oscar, or the way she was received after playing the part in this, or the way she felt pigeonholed into playing these characters of, you know, varying degrees of ethnicity, and how she used the same accent for all of them. There were definitely parts that made me laugh. Even though I was alone in the cinema, I still laughed out loud, and I did cry in 2 parts as well. And so that to me is a sign of a really good film. The fact that it can have me thinking and laughing and enjoying and crying all within 90 minutes. It's a tip-top documentary. The clips that were shown, some of them were repeated because the ideas were kind of coming from the same area. And so where I sort of said, oh, in the Sparks Brothers, I like the fact that none of the clips were repeated, I would say that, you know, the clips were repeated in this one, but not ad nauseum. I think they were necessary the times they were repeated. And also, you know, she was born in 1931, and so there's not going to be a whole load of early clips. And so if you're looking for an early clip, there's maybe only going to be 1 or 2. And so I can see the need for repeating those clips. And even in these sort of earlier film moments, again, not everything is necessarily going to be recorded and going to be available to the because these were times when the studios owned all of this. I loved hearing her story. I loved hearing of the perseverance and the determination and just what a trailblazer she was. And again, I feel quite lucky to be going into it not knowing an awful lot about her and learning an awful lot about her. But I think even if you are already a fan, there will still be things that you learn that are new to you, and then things that you already know that are celebrated within this film. And so yeah, I'm not going to make a decision on which one you should see in cinemas, because I thought that they were both really interesting. And if you are a documentary fan like I am, I think that both of these films have value. If you are a music fan, obviously you know which one you'll be leaning towards. If you are just a movie going fan, you know which one you'll be leaning towards. But I do recommend both of these, and they are films that I saw back to back. I saw the Sparks Brothers on Saturday and Rita Moreno on Monday, and yeah, I do recommend both of these. Do they need to be seen on the big screen? I really took value from seeing the Sparks Brothers on a big screen. It was a big auditorium, it was a big screen, it was definitely bigger than the screen that I saw Rita Moreno on. And so I think that because you do see them performing live on that, I think it does hold value for seeing on the big screen. Is it one that you should necessarily pay the money to see if you are only going to see one film and you're kind of choosing between previous blockbusters that I have reviewed, movie reviews playlist left here? Not necessarily. I think both of these would work equally well on the small screen. However, if you like seeing live music performed on a bigger screen, go and see the Sparks Brothers on the big screen. I will be back with another movie review for you next week, so make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell. As always, if there is a particular movie you would like me to go and see and bring you my thoughts here next week, let me know in comments. Movie reviews playlist linked in the end screen. I will be back with more bookish content for you in the week, including a live video coming your way, so make sure that notification bell is clicked so you get notified when I go live. And yeah, I will see you with my next video. Thanks for watching.